Now, data protection may sound strange and technical, but I assure you, they are terms that represent basic human rights in today's society. Over the years, there have been organizations, human rights actors championing the cause for digital rights. Today, we are joined by representatives of one of those organizations, Paradigm Initiative. Paradigm Initiative, PIN, is a social enterprise that works to connect underserved young Africans with digital opportunities and ensures protection of their rights. Paradigm Initiative over the years has been at the forefront of digital rights, inclusion and policy issues in Africa. We have with us in the studio Adeboye Adegoke, Senior Program Manager, Paradigm Initiative. Well, they are here to shed more light in the state of data protection in Nigeria, its legal landscape, and data protection ecosystem in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's say data is the new gold, as it is. Wherever you go, data mining, you just hear those words. And for some persons who is not into what all of this is, it begins to question what data protection, because right now that is what it is. You hear now a lot of Nigerians are saying they want to use VPN since the ban of the Twitter.
Yeah.
So we need to understand why it is important for us to protect our data, what this data really is about that needs protection, and why it is necessary.
All right, thank you for the question. As a matter of fact, we've started, dissuading the reference to data as the new good.
Right.
Because then this is one of the things that are, kind of encouraging unhealthy practices around the handling of data. Because when it's seen as good, everybody wants to mine it, everybody wants to, take advantage of it and all of that. But we live in a digital world, and prior to now, our data basically would be our personal information, things like our names, our house address. Those are the kind of, personally identifiable information that can be traced to us. But that has become a bit more complex in the digital world, where we now use phones, we use banking services, and to access many of those services, you have to volunteer personal information about yourself.
Right.
To get on a flight, you need to book online or whatever way you decide to get your ticket. But you need to have a passport as well, which also requires some measure of data capturing. And we live not just in a world of digital world, we also live in a world of biometric data capturing. In other words, your fingerprints are now being collected, and as a matter of fact, there is also what's called facial recognition. In other words, people can recognize even just through they call it iris. So we have so many data points that points directly to us in such a way that anybody from anywhere in the world can tell who you are, can tell your life history just by having some access to
so
some
it can also leave you vulnerable.
Exactly, it can leave you vulnerable. It can even lead to identity theft in the sense that somebody can take over your existence, committing crime in your name and all of that.
Really?
Yeah, that's how sensitive data has become. And that's why the subject of data protection is very, very important. And I also think it's important to speak to the context of Nigeria. Nigeria, and with most African countries, we are a very communal kind of people. We, in pre-colonial days, and even after colonialism, we value family system a lot. We value community lifestyle a lot. So we really don't like secrets. I remember growing up, I live with my extended family in such a way that you don't even know who is who. You have cousins from distant uncles,
and you call
auntie,
everybody sister
and all
brother,
of that. So
yeah.
there is always that thing. So privacy is not a thing that we really take seriously in this part of the world, but we can't afford to do that again because we live in a digital age, and we are putting a lot of, maybe at some point we get to the issue of the name SIM linkage that we are currently doing in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah, so privacy is not something we can take with a pinch of salt anymore, because it is now a very sensitive subject that has many dimensions and have many ways that it influences our life, both at micro and macro level. Remember what happened after the US 2016 election, the revelation of the kind of data manipulation to sway voting decision of voters and all of that. So a lot of things are happening, and we have gotten to that point whereby we cannot afford to take the issue of data protection lightly. It requires some level of seriousness.
Now let's come to the issue of data protection. When we say we need to protect our data, what are we talking about? How do we even go about it?
Yeah, so there are two ways to look at it. We can look at it at the level of individual responsibility, and on the other side, state's responsibility. Individual responsibility is what you need to do as an individual to ensure that you kind of create some level of protection for yourself. Some people, when you get some people's social media handle, you can tell everything about them. They've put out information about their phone numbers, they've put out information about their house address, they put out their account numbers. Some people have even gone as far as putting out their BVN, their NIN,
on social media.
On social media, there are people who put out those information because they don't know the implication. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is that level of individual responsibility where you need to be careful of what information you put out about yourself. So that is first level. But then there is also a corporate level of protection that has to happen at the level of the state by putting in place the proper, the appropriate kind of frameworks that ensures that the state has some level of cover for individuals in such a way that when data protection right is breached, the state is able to, help individuals who have been violated, to kind of get redress, but most importantly, to also create standards for organizations that we like to call data custodian.
Yes.
When you say data custodian, we're talking about people who collect data in exchange for services. And interestingly, it's not just private organization, government also fits into that bracket because government is even collecting a lot of data now. Yeah, the name that we are submitting, the SIM we are linking, is government that is collecting it. The BVN is government. When you go to your, registration for passports at the immigration office, that's government. So a lot of data collection is happening at the level of the government, but of course at the private sector level too. And that's what brings me to the conversation around what needs to happen in terms of providing frameworks that ensure that everybody that collects data is held accountable in terms of the data that they collect, in terms of what needs to happen with regards to processing the use of those data. And that's why I said let us dissuade the word data is new good. Yeah, because there has to be a lot of responsibility when it comes to processing data. Data is not something you just go and mine for the sake of just benefiting from it. There has to be responsible use. There has to be regulation in terms of what you can do with data you are collecting. You don't just collect data and start using it anyhow. And I'm going to give you a very quick example. When the first time when we started doing this SIM card registration, when everybody was required to register their SIM cards and all of that. I'm not talking about the recent one. I'm talking about 2013 thereabouts.
Yeah.
Do you know that after that exercise, a lot of vendors, contractors were contacted to be able to make that happen. After they finished that contract for the NCC, many of those vendors began to sell those data that they collected on behalf of the government to people for the sake of, they call it marketing. So that's why sometimes you get
mails,
you get text messages, and you are wondering, how do these people get my number? Right. It was sold. It was sold for business purposes. And that's why I said, no, let's not talk about data as the new good again. Let's talk about data as data which is directly linked to the fundamental rights of the owners of those data, which is the right to privacy guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution.
Let's look closely at taking responsibility. You talked about government on the one hand, and you talked about individuals on the other hand. Now, what kind of information, looking at the individual now, because we need to create awareness. Obviously, a lot of people are not aware of what they are doing. What level of information is enough to put out on social media? And what are the red flags when you see certain things and say, okay, no, don't put this on social media? And then you now look at the aspect of building frameworks to ensure the safety and the rights of citizens are upheld by government. Let's begin with individuals. Okay, yeah. So at the level of the individual, I would come to it from a cybersecurity perspective. So for a cyber criminal, for example, to be able to maybe hack into your system, into your social media account, into your phone or whatever, they need some level of information from you. And they need to bring those pieces together and combine it with their own hacking skills to be able to access you. Now, what kind of information do they need? Information such as your date of birth. Yeah, your date of birth, because these are some of the credentials you use. Sometimes some people use their date of birth as for example, as their PIN for their ATM cards, as the password for their social media handle. You are smiling. I hope you are not one of them. Yeah, so I don't know. So now, when you look at all this information, so somebody comes to your social media handle, maybe your Instagram and your Facebook, and the person sees your date of birth, right? It's there openly. Then they are doing giveaway on social media, and somebody say, "Oh, I want to give. I have 500,000 naira to give to 5 people. Drop your account number," and then you are there. You rush there. You drop your account number. Now,
the criminal that wants to hack you already has to critical information to get access into your back end.
Wow.
Now, maybe something is happening, and some of those hackers, they even do prank call. They will call you, they will pretend like they are calling from your bank. Oh, something is happening in the bank. Can you drop your BVN?
Yeah.
And you go there, you drop your BVN. Now, that's a cycle. It's a completed cycle. You have already given out yourself. That person may already have access to your bank account, because a lot of people use their date of birth as their PIN. You've given out your date of birth, you've given out your BVN. So in terms of individual responsibility, you have to be conscious when sharing online that there are people who have very evil minds, who are also, who have criminal minds, and who potentially could scam you. So when you're putting out information, you are conscious of that, and you're trying to play around. You know, one of the ways to catch criminals is to be one step ahead, because the way criminal operates is that they are one step ahead of law enforcement. So as an individual too, you have to be one step ahead, so that you're not just giving out information about yourself. So some of these giveaway and all of that, you don't have to put out your information. If somebody wants to help you, if you trust the person enough, you should be able to have a personal message, shared between you and the person, not that you are putting it on the timeline for everybody to see. So in terms of individual responsibility, that is what needs to happen. And then people need to stop doing things like using their date of birth as their PIN. Yeah.
Because let's make judicious use of time now. The NIN-SIM registration issue has also generated concerns about how creative we have been as a government, because we did the BVN, now we're linking the NIN, the SIM, and all of that. How creative have we been at managing our data and ensuring efficient use of it?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And I will quickly answer and touch on a lot of issues. So from the side of the authorities, we have not really done well in terms of how we have managed the issue of data over the years. Like since 2011, we've had a data protection bill at the National Assembly, for example, which is yet to see the light of the day. In fact, in 2019, a bill got to the president's table that was not signed. Last year, a draft bill has been sent. No, it has not been sent, but a draft bill was released by the executive, and they asked for stakeholder input. Now, the first problem is that there is a gap in the regulatory environment. We don't have a data protection law, although we have what we call the NDPR, the National Data Protection Regulation, which gives, which was issued by the National Information Technology Development Agency. We kind of fill some of the gaps. So that is one thing I want to quickly talk to: the need for Nigeria to enact a data protection law, and more importantly, a data protection law that establish a national data protection authority. Now, the reason why we need a national data protection authority is that we need an independent commission to oversee data protection, because, as I said earlier, government is a custodian of data. So government is a potential abuser of privacy right in that context, or data right in that context. So we need an independent adjudicator who can stand between the people, the government, and the private sector, so that whoever you are, whether you are Nigerian Immigration, whether you are National Identity Management Commission, whether you are CBN, whether you are NCC, if you don't manage data the way you're supposed to manage it. So
how is paradigm shift blocking the gaps? How is it bridging the gaps that we see in all of this circle that you have pointed out?
Okay, I'm here today. I think this is more like a public education or awareness kind of thing. Right. So that's one way in which we are doing. Also, we have been supporting the advocacy for data protection law in Nigeria since there has been a draft. We have even worked with the legislator to come up with a draft bill, Digital Rights and Freedom Bill, which was sent to the National Assembly, which was passed actually by the National Assembly, but unfortunately the president didn't sign it, and the bill is back at the National Assembly. But we're also supporting effort towards the data protection law, which the government is trying to push now, and we are calling on the federal government, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Communication, to ensure that that bill is sent to the National Assembly, so that before this tenure or this administration, before they expire in 2023, we can at least say Nigeria has a data protection law, because it doesn't look good on the country that in the age of asking people to link their NIN to their SIM, in the age of artificial intelligence, in the age of capturing people's IMEI numbers, the one that they just recently announced, we don't have a data protection law. We think it's unfair on the people that the government is asking for so much in terms of people putting out personal information about themselves without providing the necessary safeguards through a law that can ensure that when things go wrong, people can get redress from the court.
And that's a fine place to leave the conversation this morning. Senior Program Manager, Paradigm Initiative, Adeboye Adegoke. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.